This is the Mr. Hickory Nutcracker made by Fred Blankenship in Kentucky. Fred doesn't have computer access, so you need to call him to order one. You can get it in John Deere green or IH case red. His phone number is 270-272-7670. His name is Fred. These are some nuts, some black walnuts from last year, and I'm just using them to show you how this cracker works. Every nut has a suture, a line that's easily seen, and you want the suture to be across the top of the nut when placed in the cracker. That's how you get started. So you get it in there. And now I'm going to use my hand to keep the shells from going everywhere, but you just lightly get it started. And these are grafted black walnuts, which means that the kernels separate much easier from the inside of the shell. The inside of the shell is called the hull, and that's where the ribs are that are easier to remove the nut meat because they're selected as grafted trees so that the nut meat comes out much easier and in big pieces. So that first crack, I'm going to get that piece. We'll do a bit of more of a crack on this. It's starting to dislodge. So you return the nut to the cracker and kind of determine where you want to get the shell. Hear a bit more of a crunch. Now this piece is free. And I'm doing this slow, of course, and all the kernel, the nut meat, is out of that piece. Now this is, nope, we just had a piece drop. Now the hull is empty, and we have all the nut meat from that black walnut. So this is primarily made for black walnuts and for hickories, which are the most difficult to crack. I collected some hickory nuts yesterday, and I should allow them to dry for a month so that the nut meat is dry when I crack these. But I'm just going to crack a nut here to show you how to crack a hickory. It's the same procedure. There's a line that goes across, it's called the suture, and we're going to line the nut up the same way as we did with the black walnut. You have a lot of control with this. I put rubber on mine here and at the handle, otherwise it's metal on metal. So we'll start just seeing what we got from the first crunch, and this too is a grafted tree which produces nuts where the hull, the inside with the ribs and everything again, releases the nut meat much easier than wild trees that you'll be collecting nuts from. There's a couple pieces. Got a nice crack here. We're going to put this back in again. Slowly see what happens. And the shell is starting to fall away. Now this is 2017. And on eBay last year, shelled hickory nuts were selling for over $30 a pound, and they were selling very easily. Now see, this is very wet nut meat. It's kind of sticky in this hull, so if it were dry it would just fall out, and that piece did just fall out. Much easier if you allow the nuts to dry. This is called a dibble that Fred put on here, and I'm going to show you how that works. Let's say you crack one of your black walnuts, and you decide that you want to chip away at the inside of this hull to release the nut meat. You use this dibble here, and now we'll see if anything just wants to fall out. Some of it does, but we'll use the dibble again. And now you're specifically getting nut meat released. This one should fall out, but you're getting pieces to you get much more control with the dibble. So that's free. You get nice pieces of nuts, and 99% of that is because we're cracking grafted trees. So I'm not going to spare you any more time. I think you understand how this tool works. Here's the second piece. This actually needs to be loosened there. Got a nice chunk of nut meat in here, and it's free enough to come loose. Fred Blankenship builds them one at a time. His phone number again is 270-272-7670.